Good evening, everyone. Happy Monday once again. We are here at 6:30 p.m. Central Time. Hopefully everyone has adjusted their clocks and recovered a little bit anyway from that adjustment this weekend. I know in our household it takes a few days for people's schedules to adjust. It's kind of funny how just that 1 hour makes such a difference in our sleep cycles and our moods and all kinds of things. So hopefully you have caught up a little bit on that and are feeling like having a little inky time tonight. Thank you so much for joining me, everybody. I'm going to go ahead and just talk about a few things while people are hopping on. Just a reminder that if you haven't visited the Facebook page lately, I talked about the fact that there's going to be a color refresh coming with the new catalog. And if you haven't experienced one of those yet, basically what they will do is they take a look at our core color families, you know, our subtles, regals, brights, etc., and just give them a little bit of an update because, you know, color trends and color things can, like with color change. And every, oh gosh, I don't know, 8 years or so, I think. I can't remember when the last one was. Stampin' Up! Just mix things up a little bit. Some of it might be bringing back some of your older in-color favorites that are now more of, instead of just being trendy, they're really part of the basic color palette for a lot of people. So some of those might be coming back. We already know that Lost Lagoon and Pretty Peacock are part of that. So those two will be returning. And it does, of course, mean that some colors will be going away. We won't know for sure what those are till the end of this month. You can probably... I would say if you have some favorites that you want to make sure that you can keep going with, grab an ink refill now, grab an extra pack of cardstock now. Especially once that our announcement gets placed about which colors are going, that stuff will disappear like you won't even believe. Also, it's a very good possibility that, remember there's the 5 in colors that will be going away. Now, granted, my secret hope is that Succulent and Evergreen stay in the collection. I've become a very, very big fan of those. So if they held on, I would not be disappointed. But going under the assumption that this particular color collection is likely going away at the end of this catalog run. Again, if it's something that you have that you want to keep using, grab that ink refill now. Grab that extra pack of cardstock that you want. Those things, like I said, those will be disappearing fast, and we've noticed some of them already are. And if they go at this point, they will not get replaced. So make sure you're grabbing up some of your favorites. And I will definitely have that announcement ready for everybody as soon as I know. I'm not privy to the information, you know, necessarily before any other demonstrators or anything like that. So end of May is when, or I said end of March is when we'll find out. Hey, Kathy, thanks for joining me tonight. Is when we'll find out specifically what that color refresh means and what it's going to look like. So I'm already kind of anticipating myself a few of ones that I'm like, you know what? I don't find myself gravitating to that color often or much anymore. Perhaps that's a signal to me that that's going out, all kinds of things. So lots of speculation. You guys can, you know, place your bets amongst yourselves is what you think is going to stay, what do you think is going to go. But again, if there's anything that you absolutely want to have, just get that order in now. I really can't stress that part of it enough. That stuff will disappear so fast once everybody officially knows that it's going to be gone. So that'll include anything that has those colors as part of a collection. So for example, well, usually all the DSP changes over anyway, but now we know for sure like those color family DSPs will change. Your pack of markers, anything, a pack of refills, you buy anything in bulk that's got those colors in it, those are going to disappear quickly too. All right, so on to some more fun things. I know I keep looking outside and seeing snow, but I wanted to have some more springy and bright colors in my mix for today. Kind of sick of looking at gray and yuck outside. So I picked up my Friendly Gnome stamp set from the mini catalog, and I'm going to be going ahead and using that on camera tonight. There's this really cute guy with some spring flowers stuck in his beard, so he's going to be my focus for tonight. If you happen to get the gnome set from the holiday mini, if you remember correctly, there was a set of dies that went along with that. Those are still available. They're not in the catalog, but they are available in the store, and they do match images in here as well. So you've still got your little gnome guys that will fit these little gnome shapes. And then some bonus things like beard, things like that could be fun to play with those guys as well. So something to keep in mind if you either missed out on the dies from the first round or you go, hey, it'd really kind of be nice to not have to cut that out every time. we got you covered. There's a die set that will match this guy as well. All right, so let's go over what you need tonight. You need a card base that is 5.5 by 8.5, scored at 4 1/4. I'm going to be using Night of Navy. You need a piece of neutral that's 4 by 5 1/4. This is for the front of our card, so if you have a dark cardstock that you're going to want something for the inside, you probably want to end up cutting another one of those for when you're ready to do your inside as well. A neutral circle that's 1 3/4. I already stamped and started to color mine. That's why he looks a little funny there, but he's already got my gnome started on him. Then you needed a second color of cardstock. That you need a piece that's 2 1/4 by 3 3/4. 1 3/4 by 3, and then a 2-inch circle. Now I specifically picked these because these punches have come back in stock. I would need to double check and see if they're still in stock. I think they were going out again, but they will keep coming back. So, you know, hold on to hope there. If you don't have them currently in your collection, you can still be adding them very soon. I find it just super handy to have punches for circles rather than trying to crank them through my Stamp It, Cut, and Emboss. So that's why I picked those two particular sizes. You can fluctuate that too. You'll see in a few of my samples, I didn't use circles. I used different shapes. I used whatever. So just a little something for a focal point there. And then pieces of designer series paper. You need one that's 2 by 3.5, one that's 1.5 by 2 3/4. And we're going to use those vertically in case it matters in the particular pattern that you picked. Mine is from the Regency Park collection. You can decide if they're exactly the same or if you want them to be different. I have options for both to show you so you can kind of see the difference as we go through. Okay, so go ahead and grab your 1 3/4 inch circle. And as you can see, I already stamped my little gnome face on there. And I'm going to finish coloring him up while you guys are creating your focal points that you want on your circle. Again, you can add, the phrase can get added here if you like, or you can have it go into like the bottom corner of our layout. I'll talk to you about that once we start putting that together. So start with your images or whatever you are going to be putting on that 1 3/4 inch circle. All right, so I started out with some balmy blue. I picked my colors based on what is in my designer series paper. So there was navy, there's balmy blue, there's mango, and I can't remember what other color green there was in there. But I picked, since mango doesn't actually have a blend, I picked papaya and pumpkin pie because I can kind of blend those into this orangish, because this is more of an orangish yellow. So those colors will kind of blend into that particular track. So I'm going to finish coloring him out with, first, I'm going to use a neutral for his beard. This is gray granite. So I'm just going to highlight a couple spots that are already naturally there in those extra lines that they drew. And then I'm just going to go ahead and color over. Now he's got a beard that comes out right about there. It doesn't, the first time I looked at him, I was like, why would his beard go all the way up to his nose? Well, it wouldn't. That would be his face. So I almost accidentally colored my first guy fully covered with a gray face. And I went, whoopsie, that's not right. He looks way better. Hey, Mom, good to see you. Yes, I know, right? Doesn't it look cute with just his little one eye showing, Kathy? I love it. So cute. And I like this guy too that I used at Valentine's Day where he doesn't even have the eyes at all. I just think that's totally adorable. All right. And then I used a little more, let's see, I wrote myself a note so I didn't forget. Okay. My pumpkin pie goes on the flower. Okay. So I'm going to use that to color in my flower. And I'm just going to leave my centers white. I like a little bit of white space sometimes showing with these, even though they are the blends, they might be a little bit of, I don't want to say a bleeding to it, but, you know, spreading kind of a thing. So I like that I can allow that to just kind of have a little bit of white space and have it set itself off. All right, and then I'm going to use my papaya, my dark papaya for his nose. With a little extra emphasis on this side. Give it a little shade over there. Okay. And then a little light papaya for the rest of his face. Whoops. I think I want my brush end though. Sometimes I like coloring with the more of that marker tip. And sometimes I kind of like coloring with my brush tip. Okay, and I left mine, you know, and I never fails, guys. I always leave something on the other end of the table. And in this case, it was the darker balmy blue that I could finish then coloring in his suit. So again, I'm going to highlight a little bit in certain spots with the darker tip point and then just go back over with the brush and use that to blend it out. Now, this did cut off a little bit of his image, so he does have like hands and some other things that are down there, but I just went with a little bit of focus on his face. Okay. All right. So that is done. We're going to go ahead and mount that particular piece. See, guys, I remembered my adhesive tonight. Left the marker on the other side of the table. Hey, Jessie, thanks for joining me tonight. Good to see you. I'm going to go ahead and put that onto my mango circle. And then, as you may have guessed, each of these pieces here are going to layer onto those particular cardstock colors. So let's go ahead and do that. And this was the flip side of that particular one. I kind of like how those do actually go really nicely together. So if you have a piece, I like when they have one designer series paper piece that both sides would play nicely together, because there's sometimes you could use them to offset and show both sides of that in the layout that you're using or something like that. So I really like when DSP plays nicely together. Plus, I always feel bad covering up one side. Kind of like, oh, you're pretty too. I want to use you. Okay. So you've got your pieces mounted. Let's go ahead and fold up our card base. Now, before we put this down permanently, I'm going to show you where it's going to go in case you want to do your phrase. I'm going to leave mine blank on the front for now. So if you want to put a phrase, I would emphasize possibly down into this corner here. Now, here's where we're going to go with this. You're going to layer these guys onto here, like so. Okay. And then your circle is going to be the furthest point out. So that should give you a visual of about how much room you have for your phrase. If your phrase is longer, then all you're going to need to want to do is pile those guys a little closer to each other. Okay? So that's what you're going to do for assembly. So we're just going to take our piece of neutral and put that on our card front. Oopsie. Grab the entire thing. All right, that's going to go on to my Night of Navy piece. And I'm just realizing, since that's Night of Navy, you probably can't see it quite as well. There we go. Oop, that was some fun camera focus. All right. The colors are really cool, Jessie, and all I did was take that right out of that Regency Park Designer Series paper. They put those colors together, and it's possibly not ones I would have thought of necessarily, but the mango and the navy together, I really, really like the way that looks. Now, you can decide throughout here if you want anything to be raised up on dimensionals for any reason. I'm going to go ahead and lay all mine flat. But remember, as you go across, you're creating bulk and dimension just a little bit. So when you get here, you could probably only do some adhesive on that side. As you're going to put that piece down, you only really need it on that left edge. And you can decide if you want it to be, about halfway, a little more than halfway when you're looking at this part, that length of stuff right there. And then just centering top to bottom. Okay. And then again, with my little gnome, I'm going to put my adhesive just on kind of the left edge of him. And there he is. Okay. Now he is all set now for whenever I do want to decide what I'm going to do with him. I can just put a little phrase in the corner and send him off, and he's ready to go. All right. So let me set him aside up here, and I can show you some other samples while you guys are finishing up your layout. And again, I'll show you as I go through. Again, some I've done dimensionals, some I haven't. Some I've used the same designer series paper, some I haven't. But it just kind of depends on, we're going to call this a cook's choice one again. Whatever you like and whatever you've got to work with. Okay, so here's one I did for Easter. And here you can see, yes, I did still do those circles, but I used a punch as my focal point. And then I took my Happy Easter phrase and cut it up a little bit because it was too long to fit there. This all comes from the Easter Bunny stamp set and then the matching punch. And I absolutely love this gingham cottage gingham, designer series paper. The colors in here for spring are fabulous. You've got petal pink, balmy blue, mint macaron, and green that I can't think of right now. A paler green, or no, maybe it's a purple. Anyway, I'll have to look that up later. But super, super cool. Love the plaids that are in there. Oh wait, maybe it's a sweet sorbet. Maybe it's more of a red color. But in any case, they are fabulous for your springtime soft color cards. And you'll see this time is for my neutral. I actually chose Sahara Sand. So the white was used as an accent color in this case to really make those pieces stand out from each other. All right, and since we are almost approaching that time of March, here is my St. Patrick's Day card. Now I took my Granny Apple Green Designer Series paper from the Color Family pack, And, oh, good job. Yeah, great, Jessie. See, this one is super simple, especially if you just use the punch with the plaid paper. So easy. And I just did a little twine bow on him. Super easy to do. I took my Lucky Clover. The punch is no longer available, but the stamps still work perfectly. So here he is in my 1 3/4 circle. There's my 2-inch circle, and I added gold throughout the accents for everything, mimicking, of course, your pot of gold concept for St. Patrick's Day. And there again, I broke up my phrase a little bit to make it fit down there. But that's the gold foil. And then one piece of advice, if you're working with the foil, now you only get 2 sheets in that package, and you really want to make it work for you and get as much bang for your buck out of that as you can. So since I knew I was going to be covering up most of this piece here, I took some of my smaller punches, maybe a little circle or some other shapes, and I have actually punched out pieces out of the middle of that gold foil before I put my green over it. So I saved pieces out that I can use for other projects. And just, especially since, like I said, you're hiding a lot of that gold foil, and don't let it go to waste. All right, so on this one, I used some of the product that's in the online exclusives. So this is that Irresistible Blooms collection with the Hello Irresistible Designer Series paper, which I believe is currently out of stock, but coming back hopefully within a few weeks. This is, again, the 2 colors that are coming back. So this is Lost Lagoon and Pretty Peacock. I was able to find my old ink pads and my old cardstock that I hadn't gotten rid of yet. I tend to hold on to those in-color ones until there's a color refresh, and then I know that they're going away for sure. So my card base here, this is that Lost Lagoon color. And then the darker color here is the Pretty Peacock. Now, what I did also is I took an embossing folder to my Designer Series paper and then the same one to the background. And then I did just a little bit of sponging over with some Pretty Peacock ink Lost Lagoon ink. So there's just a hint of highlight in the background. I also took my Wing of Stella pen and I used it to brush on a little bit of color. And I'm hoping some of that shimmer can start shining through. Hopefully you see some of the reflection, and hopefully it'll show up in the photos as well. So I used some of that to add some color and depth, and of course tons of sparkle to my flower that then I just I fussy cut him and then made that little tag shape for my phrase. Okay. And then here's another one where I used a little bit of embossing folders for some texture, but that one is just in the background piece itself, so it's on the neutral panel. This one is using the Cup of Tea and Tea Boutique Designer Series papers, which I'm using some of the alternative images from there. So I put my phrase right in there with just a few floral accents that I pulled the color scheme out of this piece of the Designer Series paper. And then there's another piece from that same collection. So no teacups, no teapots, no anything involved there. This is one of those other pieces that kind of is part of the collection. And then I used the Quatrefoil embossing folder on my piece of white neutral in the background there to give it some texture. And then this was from the layering circles. That's where you get the scallop from. And the green twine comes from the pack of 3 that is in the Enjoy the Journey collection in the mini catalog. So you get Coastal Cabana, Garden Green, and Pumpkin Pie, I believe. So that was a really nice accent for that guy right there. And a little rhinestone to top him off. And I think that is all the bonus samples. So let's go ahead and show off another gnome. So here was the one we did on camera. And then here's my stepped up version. I grabbed a different piece from still the Regency Park collection, but a different piece. So this is a little bit more focusing on the blues and not so much the mango. So you can see the flowers themselves are filled in with a blue color as opposed to these being white with a mango accent. I've used the flip side of it. So I showed you the stripe on this one. I did use the flip side of that and use the stripe here. And I chose to do the deckled rectangle around the entire gnome this time. So you see all of him. And I fussy cut a balloon, added that here. There's that pumpkin pie twine that goes along with that same pack of twine from that collection right there. I did use my phrase already, so we have wishing you the most magical of birthdays. Let me think, is there anything else? I did a little doodling, actually. No actual texture, but I did take my mango marker and I did a little doodling all around here and around my rectangle here. And then I took my ink pad and just very lightly brushed the edges just so it stood off of, especially the white here. It kind of gave it a little bit of separation without having to add any extra bulk from another layer of cardstock. And then as you can see, I also added a layer of cardstock behind each one of those. So instead of just one layer, I've got 2. So it's got the navy and the balmy behind each part instead of just going to one like I did on these layers here. Okay, everyone, I think that was the only difference really between the two. You get to see more of the gnome. Same coloring, same colors there, but I just picked a different piece of paper and just focused more on one of the colors coming out of that. So here I picked the mango because that was a little more prominent. And here I focused more on the blues with mango just being a little bit of that pop of color that I needed over there. Alrighty. And my goodness, time flies on a Monday. Let me tell you. Let me leave these guys over here so they show off a little bit more against that white. All right, there are my gnomes. There's the Easter bunny back. So here's our holidays coming up. We got St. Patrick's Day in a couple weeks, and we've got Easter coming up shortly after that. There we go, everyone. That is our layout for tonight. Super simple. And again, play with the sizes of these things. You know, if there's a better cut for you with the scraps you've got left. And again, as you can see, I stuck to circles on most of it. But then remember, you can do anything you want. It's a focal point. Use a shape. Change up the shape if you like the continuation of the rectangles, as opposed to changing up the shape. All kinds of options that you guys can do for tonight. So, oh, that's so sweet of you guys. I love when I see all your happy little heart messages. It makes me feel so good. All right, that's going to be it for tonight, guys. I will see you again next Monday night. And have a great rest of your week, everybody. Take care.